And we are live. Hello, and thanks for tuning in. This is the SuperBoss Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Harrison Ngo, and I'm joined by Ian Eatwell, whichever direction, and Luc Tran.
Hello.
So, if you're a new listener, we talk about anything that ranges from movies, comics, to videos, honestly, whatever we felt like talking about. But if you see the title of this episode, let's be for real here. It's been a long time coming. But anyway, you can watch every episode on youtube.com or listen to it as a podcast by searching up SuperBoss Podcast on your podcast service of choice. So just sit back and relax to us talking
Listen
about
to our buttery tones, and then we devolve into nerd rage. But
because what are we talking about today, boys? What is it?
Please elucidate me, Harrison.
Ooh.
Death Note 2017.
God, no.
All right, we're ending it right now. Now we're talking about Spider-Man. No Way Home.
Spoiler alert. It's been out for what, a week now? You've had a week to go see Spider-Man No Way Home.
So yeah.
Sidebar, really quick. What is the consensus on the spoiler range? I've heard this for everyone complaining about it. Some people said a week, some people said 3 days, some people said the weekend. I just want your quick, what you think.
I think a week is like, if you really wanted to see something, I feel like you would have made time in a week to go see it,
right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that too, because a lot of people that couldn't go last week, opening week
opening weekend tickets were
there's still
tickets were gone.
It was gone.
But you could take a weeknight, go see it, go make a dinner out of it and go to, I don't know, Studio Movie Grill or any of those places.
Mm-hmm.
And also, speaking as we are a topical content creating podcast, we can't wait too long.
We can't
after the release of Spider-Man to then start talking about Spider-Man, because the next Marvel release is not until March or June.
Yeah, something like that.
I think it's May.
It's
actually.
It's like
but
late
still,
Q1, early.
We have to stay relevant for the content, so we're talking about Spider-Man. Get over it.
Yeah. So but we're gonna try to get viewers to still stay on here for a little bit, as in hey guys, let's just give our quick non-spoiler thoughts as vague as possible, or you could even just do thumbs up, thumbs down, left. I don't know. Up to you guys. Ian, go first.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. If you like Marvel movies at all, you should see it. If you've watched the old Spider-Man movies and you like them, you should go see it. If you
same
like Spider-Man, you should go see it. Yeah, I was not I was never a huge Spider-Man specific fan, but just as more of a superhero fan in general, and a very casual one. But I loved it. It was great. They did it really well and really cleanly. In a movie that could have been kind of a mess. So
yes.
Thumbs up for me.
Thumbs up. Luke.
Yeah.
Movie's very good. I think it deserves a lot of praise because it handles itself very well. And like Ian said, it could have been pretty messy. But if you're a Spider-Man fan, you've probably already seen it. If you're a Spider-Man fan and you haven't seen it, you need to go see it. I think just general Marvel fans will see it. One of the big things I was thinking about after I saw it was it made me appreciate Into the Spider-Verse a lot more, because I think Into the Spider-Verse definitely set itself up for No Way Home to take a few things. But it was very good.
Very good. Nice.
Harrison?
I also thought it was very good. I think
spoiler alert, we all thought it was good.
Spoiler alert, it was good. A good movie. I think what the best way for me to say it was, this movie gave me that super comic booky, if I were to watch the Spider-Man animated series on a Saturday morning and just go at it. I got that vibe. It was like it had all the elements of like that kind of feeling of like if you've seen the older like Spider-Man animated shows and you know like how it works, it just felt like that. And if anything, it also felt like the culmination of like, okay, this is actually like we've built up to this point as like for a Spider-Man franchise. So, but mainly I thought they did a really good job with like Tom Holland just did really good and everything just worked out really well.
Mm-hmm.
As a very non-spoilery thought. But overall, I thought it was fantastic. It is definitely in my top 3 MCU movies.
Big praise.
Big praise. I don't have numbers for that because I try not to, but I also it would be too much. I just think of like, okay, it's in top 3, top 5.
I smell a tier list episode coming up.
Oh God, that's
force the both of you to make a tier list.
Oh, I would have so much fun with that. I would take like Harrison's favorites and just like shove them down into
trash
the F
them all.
tier.
Shang-Chi, trash. Spider-Man,
Man.
trash.
man.
Dark.
But no, yeah, overall, really good. I had fun. But
So let's get into the spoiler talk.
Yeah.
About
so
it.
yeah, I was like, so spoilers. 3, 2, 1.
Spoiler warning.
Dumbledore.
That was it.
Cape.
That was all the
Oof.
effects we have, or just my hands.
Yeah.
These are the special effects we got here.
Spoilers.
This
Spoilers.
is the most we can do.
They
All right.
handled a big cast like incredibly.
Yes.
Because you have 3 Spider-Men. You've got specifically Tom Holland Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man all sharing the limelight, and it didn't feel like crowded.
Nope.
And then you throw in 5 villains. You have Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Electro, Lizard, Sandman. Am I missing anybody?
No.
Lizard,
And
Sandman,
like,
Doc
so
Ock.
some of the villains didn't
Goblin.
get as much screen time. Like Lizard was
Right.
just
Like Lizard was a
ooga booga. I'm a lizard.
yeah.
But
And
no, I really like. What? Sorry, go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I was just. I mean,
I was. God damn it! Go, Harrison.
Nope. Mine's not that important. Trust me.
Like, the movie is really good, and it is like huge fan service for anybody who likes Spider-Man, or specifically the other live-action Spider-Man. But what I was alluding to with Spider-Verse is that you get like the other Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, they get so much like closure from their franchises, and it like you have that in the scene with Into the Spider-Verse where all of the spider people are they specifically are talking, they're trying to relate to Miles about losing Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
And both Toby and Andrew, they have that moment where like they talk about them losing Uncle
You mean
Ben.
Tom Holland?
Sorry, what did I say? Tobey Maguire.
You said Miles.
Miles. No, I was saying like
Miles Morales.
No,
with
he's
the spider
comparing
people
him-
with
yeah.
Miles.
Yeah.
It
He's
was the
comparing
same
them.
with the
Oh.
live action with Tom Holland. where
Yeah.
Tom
Gotcha.
Holland loses
Finding
his
the middle
aunt,
ground.
and
Yeah.
then Toby talks about losing Ben, and then Andrew talks about losing Gwen. And I was just
Mhm.
like, it's such a good, like, to me it felt like Into the Spider-Verse laid out a lot of groundwork, and it felt really good as
Mhm.
someone who was like, I'm into that fan service of referencing other movies, but also like the characters getting to talk about their own experiences was like A+ to me.
And to jump off that, I really like talking about experience, but I also, like you said, they got some closure, but it's just so awesome to know, like, they kind of wow, I can't think of words right now. They kind of like sprinkle here and there, like what happened after. Like, for instance, like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, he was explaining how like his relationship with NJ is really complicated because it ended complicated. It was really
Yeah.
awkward after 3. I mean, 3 was just awkward, period. But then it's just also nice to know, like, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, he was like, oh yeah, I don't want you to do what I did because I stopped pulling back punches. I was like, but it makes sense because he was probably, to me, the more emotionally charged Spider-Man, where he would
Mhm.
go off the rails and like not hold back anything.
Mm.
So I just thought it was cool. Like they didn't have to do like this whole. They didn't have to do a whole scene. They respected the audience to be like, all right, if you know this stuff, we're just gonna sit like at least give you a little like quick blurb, and you can like imagine the rest of it.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that so much. Of course, I wanted more, but I still appreciate.
Yeah, I want to. I'm going to take a step back for a
Yeah,
little bit and just talk about like going back to the spoiler thing.
Yeah.
Like, did you see it opening night, Harrison?
I did. Yeah.
Okay, because I think Eden and I, we saw it the day after.
The next day. You saw it the next day. Yeah.
That, like, watching No Way Home in theaters was a very good theater experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
We had, like, our theater, I think, was basically packed. We had a few open seats, but, like, you could tell there were, like, varying levels of people who knew what was going on. But when people were reacting, it was like everybody knew what was going on.
Everyone was cheering.
It was yes. Because I saw, what did I see? I saw Infinity War opening night.
Mm-hmm.
No, I saw both Infinity War and Endgame opening night. But Endgame, I was by myself, but it was like fully sold out crowd, and that crowd was going bananas.
Right.
And it was kind of the same thing with Spider-Man, and it was a very good feeling. And so,
yeah,
if you didn't see this movie opening weekend, I'm sorry, because you missed out on like a pretty fun crowd. And I know some people don't really like when movie theater crowds get into it, but
that's why people go to the open, like let's be real here. Like,
you're gonna find the diehard fans.
The diehard fans go opening night because they're willing to like try to like get seats for that day and everything. But this is the movie going experience. People always like we're like, oh, we're gonna move away from that. And I'm like, I personally didn't want. I get it out of convenience and being lazy as hell. Sure, why not? I can sit in my home, but it doesn't match these kind of moments. You can't replicate this stuff. Like even though you can sit around with your bros and just sit at home, it's still, to me, I got chills whenever like something happened. Like people were clapping, like hell. Like even my brother, he like started clapping for something. Afterwards, he's like, I hit my wrist wrong. I think I hurt my wrist. But everyone was like cheering and like screaming. Like I lost my voice the next day. Because everyone was like, oh, I was losing my shit on a lot of things. It was just so, yeah, it's just it's like moments like these where I'm like, yeah, movie going, like watching these kind of movies in the theater, it's just top tier.
Yeah. I think the like one of the biggest moments where I was like, oh, okay, like we're in here is when like Andrew Garfield pulled off his like mask. That's when everybody was like, yes, yeah, let's go.
Did anyone in your theater? Because I don't know how, like, because ours was pretty packed too, but I think the first moment it happened was when they dropped the Matt Murdock. It was super early on. So when Matt Murdock
people were like, I see that guy.
But I love that, man. That was sick. I wasn't expecting that.
It sucked because that was the one thing where like I saw a leak on that and I was like, but at the time, this is super early on. I'm like, all right, there's no way. There's no way. Because they didn't confirm anything at that point. They only confirmed Kingpin was a part of MCU, but not Matt Murdock. So everyone was like super worried about it. Yeah. But that scene was beautiful too. Like it was just cool to see like, okay, cool. These are like superheroes, but not being superheroes. But the only superhero moment was like when he grabbed the brick.
He catches the brick. Yeah.
Like, how'd you do that?
I'm a great lawyer.
I'm a really good lawyer.
Probably one of my few complaints about the movie was kind of the beginning-ish part. It felt kind of like rushed and a little convoluted because so the whole premise, for those of you watching who don't know what we're talking about, so Spider-Man's identity gets revealed. And then there's the big like, oh, look, it's Peter Parker. And there's a bunch of like angry mobs around the world and people picking sides of, was Mysterio right? Was Mysterio a good guy or not? And that probably takes maybe like 20 minutes of the movie. And then it just kind of like they kind of conclude with the scene. They're in, I think, Peter's apartment.
Yeah.
And Matt Murdock is there. And he's like, oh, yeah, the only thing that matters now is the court of people's opinion, or the court of public opinion. And it's like, oh, I guess all the legal stuff just kind of got thrown away.
Disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little rushed. Which, I mean, yeah, you can't have a perfect like. This movie's now 4 hours because we have to go through the legal process. But it was a little rushed, and
Yeah.
then they go to Peter's school, and that was
And it deals with like
kind of
celebrity life essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I thought the first that so I don't know about you guys. It was hard for me to like think of like how many acts. I think it was solid. Like it was for sure 3 acts still. But the middle part felt weird to me. It felt like it could have been broken
Is
into
that-
too many ones.
Is that with
Like
when he's like dealing with Strange?
yeah, when he's the yeah. That
Yeah.
part it was like okay, I feel because it was the villain, but then like yeah, it was felt it was just it felt that part felt disjointed. But anyway, but like the first part felt slow, I thought too. And it
Yeah,
just
the first
or
part felt
slow but rushed. If you get what I mean.
Yeah. But also, yeah,
I
the
c-
middle part was also just kind of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ian.
No, I was just agreeing. Yeah, I see what you mean. It seems counterintuitive, but yeah, it was slow getting into the stuff, but like you kind of just didn't get a lot of like closure on
Yeah.
some things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like though really quick, I guess the whole Matt Murdock thing though, I've seen some people online like talk about that,
Mhm.
but the only explanation comic book wise is that he's always the superhero. Every time a superhero gets into some legit legal issue, he's like the go-to.
lawyer.
He's the superhero lawyer. So
Yeah.
even though it was super quick, I was like, okay, I accept this because I know that no matter what, he always somehow gets the superheroes out,
Yeah.
as outlandish as it could be. But but
Yeah.
I mean, the drop was cool, but yeah, I was just like, okay, all right, that's
Mhm.
because at first I was like, all right, how are they going to clear this? But then that's why my brother the entire time was like, what if Matt Murdock dropped it? And I was like, no, it's not going to happen.
It's don't do this.
And then-
Don't
and
get
then
my
they
hopes
did.
up.
Don't get my hopes up. Yeah, but
Yeah, I was gonna say the middle act was also kind of wonky because it was weird. Like Doctor Strange in the movie was super like in focus as a supporting character, and then they just throw him away.
Yeah.
just you're locked in a prison.
It is a
for,
Spider-Man movie. That's fair, but it felt more jarring than anything. Where Peter's like, "What if magic was just math?" And then he figures out was it the mirror dimension?
yeah.
I mean, one of the dimension. He's like, "Ooh."
The flip side to that is like
Geometry.
the flip side to that. I'm like they never because I talk about this on my other podcast, and that like I think Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man is kind of like a very weird Spider-Man to go with. Like I like him, but I also don't like how they set him up MCU wise because they usually Peter Parker's known to be like a very smart kid. Like that's the big thing. They don't showcase that as much, and it always feels like he's handed things
Yeah.
from like start. So even though that moment was quick, it was like one of those. All right, the flip side. Now I'm like, all right, this is kind of weird that he can do that, but also the flip side, I'm like, all right, cool. They showcase
At
that
least they
he's smart
show
enough
off.
that he can think on his feet to like do that. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Part of it to me, it just felt like Doctor Strange just kind of got shafted in this movie.
He did 100%.
Because it's like a throwaway line, like, "Oh yeah, you're not Sorcerer Supreme anymore." Wong gets it on a technicality. Which is like, I guess was like because people laughed when they heard the line, and it's like, I guess it's kind of funny, but it's also like, oh,
yeah,
that sucks. Like,
yeah,
that's your thing. And
yeah, it's so
I'm
weird.
assuming they're gonna like in Doctor Strange's movie, they'll be like, I don't want to be Sorcerer Supreme anymore. Strange, you be it again.
Yeah,
So
I'm sure
So
they'll
like
flip it
he
somehow.
loses his title, and then he loses to Spider-Man, and it felt very like. And yeah, movies do not have consistent power levels. I get that, but
No, but it's still weird. It
was a
weird,
little weird.
but
It was a little weird.
But I mean, that was the whole thing with the marketing too. Like they tried to they purposely tried to be like, oh, Spider-Man vs. Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
Bring in multiverse because we know that's going to happen. But I think they tried to allude away from like the villains, if anything.
they did have. It had some really good scenes though, because I liked right when Peter leaves the Sanctum, and then Strange like astral projects his body. You
Yeah.
get to see like the Spidey sense still going.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
I think a lot of people
That was
laughed,
fun.
and it was funny, but it was like, no,
But-
that's actually kind of cool because you don't really
Yeah.
see how Spidey sense works.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
or like the
It kind
limits
of is
of
just
what it
on
can
in the
do.
background, and you just kind of
Yeah.
accept it, but you never get to see it like
yeah.
shown
But
off
that's why
that
it
way.
was so like that was like another little detail that I'm like, all right, that's really good to showcase because
Mhm.
I'm like, people just forget. Like, because they don't say it enough. They always joke around with the Spidey sense. They're like, oh, the Peter tingles, blah, 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 all this stuff.
Mhm.
But I thought that was a really
Is
cool detail.
I'm trying to remember if in The Amazing Spider-Man, which is Andrew Garfield's line,
Mhm.
did they have a lot of like Spidey sense stuff happen?
It's been for me.
It's been a while. Yeah, I know it happens a lot
Like
more in Toby's.
I know it's
I
there.
think.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
Toby's happens a lot. I know it's there, but I don't know. But if anything, it was always like a slow-mo movement,
Mhm.
slow-mo moment. And I think that's always how like the best way to describe the Spidey sense moment is
Mhm.
like, oh, he like, he can sense it.
I want to say Tom Holland's series might have my favorite expression of the Spidey sense. Like across all of his appearances, because you have in Avengers Civil War, it's like a few throwaway things, but like in real time, you can see Peter reacting to things.
Mhm.
And then in Infinity War, it's when they first show him off, he's in the bus, and you can see like all the hairs go
Yeah.
up on him. But and I guess in Far From Home, at the very end when he fights Mysterio in the hallway, it was an interesting take because he like closes his eyes and so he doesn't see. He's just like only trusting Spidey senses. But
Mhm.
it's like a black hallway, and then you see as things get sensed by his spider sense, they like show up in frame. I thought that was really cool. And then
Mhm.
the biggest one for me is I'm skipping ahead
Yeah.
when they
I
go
know what
to
you're gonna skip to.
the safe house.
Yeah.
And you're just like, it's just a regular scene where Peter's working on something, and you just start hearing basically like tinnitus going off in the background, and you're like,
Mhm.
what is that? And it took me like a second to be like, oh,
That's
that's the spider sense going
the
off.
spider sense.
And then it was perfect because they do. I don't know if you guys have seen. There's like an image meme going around where you have two people like putting their foreheads together, and then you get like the POV of the other person, and it's this, like really squished face of like the nose and the face.
Yeah, I've seen
It's
it.
really stupid image meme, but like they like
What is the idea?
why they fisheye lensed Peter's face as he's walking around.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is like a good example of like I
Spidey
liked
sense.
that representation of Spidey sense
Yep.
because you from his perspective, you know he like from that perspective, you don't know what exactly he's looking at or what's triggering the Spidey sense.
Because
So
they framed
you're like,
it really well.
yeah, like you're basically on the ride with him because you're just following him as he's walking around like something's wrong.
Well,
Mhm.
because like right before that, JJ was saying like, oh, I called the cops in. So for me, I just thought when that moment happened, I was like, oh, he's sensing
Mhm.
all the cops coming around.
See, I
That
thought
was
they were gonna do something with the lizard.
ooh,
So
yeah. But then like when the switch we're gonna touch on this because I want your thoughts on
yeah,
like how
I
he
know.
hit,
Yeah.
just how it was handled. So, but essentially he senses like the Green Goblin at that point, which I was like, ooh, I didn't even see that. But I want to watch this movie again because like there's so many things that people freaked out at. Like this is the flip side of having a really engaging theater is that whenever
You
people
miss a
freak
lot of
out, there are times
things.
you miss things. So
Yeah.
did you guys see? And because I asked Veronica this too on my other podcast, but what did you see what he was trying to do at that point? When like because Peter like webs
You
his
mean
hand or
Goblin?
something. Yeah, Goblin. Yeah, because he had some. I couldn't tell what happened. I thought
Uh
he like picked up the serum maybe, or I thought he was gonna. Veronica thought he was gonna stab
no.
something, but I couldn't tell what was going on at
At
that
what
point.
part in the movie?
This is like
It's
when he turns again.
it's in the
Oh,
safe house when Peter's spider sense is going off, and then he like whirls around and he webs Green Goblin's hand.
yeah.
I think he just webbed his hand to something. Because the
something,
serum
yeah.
was in the other room.
Right. I
And
didn't know if something was outside. and
Yeah.
all
See,
that.
I didn't
See,
catch
that's why I
that.
was like, I need to rewatch it again because
Yeah.
yeah. But that was like, there's little things like that where I'm like, I missed it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I guess going back to what you were probably going to start talking about, Harrison, is like the
Yeah.
villain reveals were A+ in my
Okay.
opinion.
Because this is when it's even though I like it felt choppy in the middle, but this was when it started picking up, of course,
Yeah,
because
when
like the
things
first,
it started getting cohesive.
yeah, because and okay, yeah, that was the other thing. I will say right before this, the whole reason why this is happening is because Peter just couldn't get into college because, and I'm like
Yeah.
him complaining about. I was like the way like
Well,
the funny
before
thing to me
even
was
that, it was just like he couldn't stop annoying Doctor Strange.
yeah,
Yeah.
which I mean, I was like that's the most Peter Parker thing. Like as a teenager, I was like, okay, that's really funny. But then
So I
also it was
don't
like it's just
know. I don't know a lot about Doctor Strange's character except for what I've seen in the movies.
mhm.
Is he the kind of person that would like knowingly make a spell? He knows how dangerous it is, so why would he allow Peter to keep changing it?
Like
Like, why would he let the situation even happen? Is the only thing that like breaks my level of disbelief.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But if he is that kind of like, oh, I could fix it anyway, so it's fine.
he's
I'll just let him change
cocky.
it a lot.
He's cocky as
If
hell.
he's
He's
Like, I
cocky like
don't-
that,
super cocky.
okay.
I don't know how he is in the comics, but just the MCU, if you think back to his movie when he's doing surgery,
It's been a while. That's true.
There's-
Yeah, he
there's a
is
scene
like
where,
I'm an
like,
ace surgeon. Like,
yeah, they
he's
tell
an
him
a-
not
he's
to
actually an
freehand something,
asshole.
and
Yeah.
he like freehands like a brain surgery extraction.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's true.
He's actually an asshole in the comics too. Like,
Yeah.
like it's like him and Tony Stark are like on the levels of like they're super egotistical. So
Mm,
it's not as
out of
it's
that
it's
realm.
one of those he's probably that he probably has that much of an ego that he's like, yeah, I could just fix it. It's just and in his mind, it's probably one of those they just went through a world ending event. I'm just gonna help this kid out with just like this spell, and it's just for like a small scale thing. But of course, it gets big. But I think that's what
There's-
I would like to think that's the thought process, but I don't know.
the
Okay.
big thing for me about this movie is you kind of have to break your suspension of disbelief a
Mhm.
lot, because so yeah, like Doctor Strange is that cocky, he would do that. The big thing I guess is like they don't show how long it is between like Peter's identity is revealed and then Peter going to Doctor Strange. That could have been like 2 days, could have been a few weeks because of like
Because they're
law and
waiting. Because
stuff.
they're waiting for
But it's
the
like in that entire sequence, does no Avenger just like show up and be like, "Hey, Peter Parker's cool. What are you guys doing?" Like there's no essence of that. So you already kind of like break your suspension of disbelief a bit. So
yeah, and I mean, I guess if you're speaking in terms of that, it's I get because at least with the show, at least with the show's thinking like because sorry, I'm trying to think of like Avengers wise. So let's say like Black Widow's dead, Captain America's out of the picture, Iron Man's dead, um, Hulk is MIA, I believe.
yeah, I don't know where Hulk is.
Yeah, and
Hawkeye
then
is
Hawkeye is
doing
Thor's off
something.
undercover. Yeah, he's
There's Pepper.
yeah. Actually, yeah, I was trying like maybe the
Yeah,
one
like
person that
Pepper,
could help
and there's
would be Pepper.
Rhodey.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be weird. It'd be weird, but also okay.
But even then, it's like they don't know what happened because what he's in trouble for is stuff that happened just with him.
Like just
Yeah.
just in that movie. In the
But in terms of just
Parker
like vouching for character, I guess
Oh,
would be
like
yeah.
another
later,
thing.
like if we're it like the court case stuff, they probably bring those
Oh.
people in. At
Yeah,
some
like-
point,
Yeah, like
right?
character
It's like,
witnesses.
Spider-Man, you're a murderer, blah blah blah. And then
Yeah.
if Rhodey walks up, like, yeah, he never did any of that.
This is
Or-
and then this was my other gripe again with how the MCU set up Spider-Man in that like you also have to assume that apparently everyone it's not hard in this day and age that everyone could like have these like conspiracy theories about Spider-Man, but it is
Yeah.
also it would have more of an impact to me because in the comics Spider-Man has like the biggest relationship with the city of New York. So
Mhm.
in the comics it would make sense when they're like, oh, there's an actual divide on what their views on Spider-Man, while here it's like I don't think he's that big enough, honestly, that he's not.
And
This is
they
tied up
definitely
later. This is tied up later, I think. But
a lot more of that sequence of the movie was like everybody was against Spider-Man. You didn't get enough like pushback because you had his aunt, maybe, I don't even know if Happy, I don't know what Happy's thoughts were, but you had his aunt and MJ and Ned were on Spider-Man's side, and that was basically about it. So it was like
I
definitely
think Happy was assumed
skewed.
too.
Yeah, like you would assume, but it was
Yeah.
definitely skewed, and you
Yes.
didn't get that sort of tension. But that wasn't, I guess, really the focal point of the movie.
It wasn't.
So,
Yeah. Again, this was all.
Yeah.
The first half was like it was slow but
Yeah.
rushed at the same time. But anyway,
Mhm.
so they introduce all these characters. So the first one, when he like deals with like the whole school thing, he talks about Doc Ock appears, and I was like,
Mhm.
it was still really cool to see him reprise that role, but even cooler because you now know that the arms are like CGI because back then it was like puppeteer.
Yeah, they had puppets.
Yeah. So
I think that was probably the coolest part, was seeing, for me at least, was seeing Doc Ock
yeah.
again.
It was
That
just
was
like, we'll probably get back to this, but like it seemed like everybody, like all the main Spider-Man characters, just really enjoyed being there and like playing their character.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Alfred Molina killed it.
Yeah, he really did.
It
So
basically
dope.
didn't look like he stopped playing Doc Ock, because you had Spider-Man 2, and then like 20 years later, there are no weird ticks. It's like, yeah, that's completely believable. That's
Yep.
the same Doc Ock.
Yeah.
And then he says the meme lines all the time. They said all the meme lines.
They said all the meme lines.
The
like,
power of the sun. It's like, God,
They really
damn
did.
it, you guys did that to me.
even Osborn was like, "I'm a bit of a
I'm a bit of a scientist myself."
myself."
But Doc Ock had a really good intro.
That was top tier intro. Green
And
Goblin.
I like how. Sorry, I just want to say, like, I like that he wasn't even really a villain, because even in Spider-Man 2, like, he has that, I guess, change of heart at the very end,
Mhm.
where he controls his tentacles and he destroys the nuclear generator, nuclear fission thing. And then in No Way Home, he like is fighting Spider-Man, but when he realizes it's not his specific Peter Parker, he's like, "Whoa,
Yeah, he
what's
doesn't
going
like.
on
He
here?"
doesn't go at it still. Yeah.
Yeah, and for a good amount of time in the movie, he's like trying to be helpful, and
Yeah.
I like it's consistent with his like original appearance. So that was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like Doc Ock, Green Goblin had like the cool intros, and then I guess like
Green
I
Goblin's
never
was really
noticed.
short though. That was
It was
kinda,
short. It was short. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess I guess they were trying to build him up for later. Like you weren't sure because
yeah.
everyone knows he has like that split personality thing,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
we didn't know how that to be handled.
Dude, the thing that pissed me off though, in terms of like the villain characters, Sandman, it's like the pinnacle example of like, if you just chilled out for a second, had a conversation, you'd be on the right side here, man. Like, just calm down.
But it was really cool that initially when they introduced him, because they showed like the Electro, but like he helped Spider-Man initially.
Yeah. And
I was like, okay, this makes sense.
At the end of 3, like at the very end of Spider-Man 3, the original one, they part ways. They're like, all right, we're cool, man. We're cool.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh yeah, I'll help you on this crazy. So are you talking about when Sandman starts freaking out after
Electro
webs up Electro?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or is that?
Well, a little bit of that I can
Okay.
understand, because
Or you
he's
mean,
like
like, later,
freaking out.
too?
He's like, "What's
Yeah.
going on?" But I'm talking about like later at the end. It's like you could just help, because your end goals are the same, right? You're trying to get back to your daughter. They're trying to send you back to your daughter. Like, it's
that makes sense. But
just like molding at him.
The second sequence of villain intros was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And just like Electro is just a cool villain.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I like how what they did with him. I feel like they just let Jamie Foxx just like do whatever you want, and it was like just play yourself in this one.
You don't have to play like a dweeb. Just be like a cool electric man this time.
Yeah. I think it's cool that they address it. Like they after like the whole sequence when they like get captured, they like start showing, oh, I know each other, or we know each other. But like it was just funny how like they even addressed like, hey, you look different. You actually look like you had a glow up. Man.
Yeah. I really liked in terms of like the like interaction of the between the characters when the Spider-Men are together in the lab and like Andrew Garfield's like walking around, he's like and he's like all awkwardly trying to like navigate that was amazing. That was very funny.
I guess the one big thing in between that was there's a lot of stuff in this movie, Jesus.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
The one thing I didn't expect after the whole like sequence was sorry, I'm going through. I have my notes in front of me, so I was just like looking through. But I guess I didn't expect Aunt May to die this way. It was one of those. It's probably about time because I think some people, me too included, I wasn't sure if Tony Stark was that big.
Yeah, right.
Thing.
Yeah.
You know, like because is that the Uncle Ben of that?
Yeah.
But it feels like it shouldn't be. But then when this happened, I was like, oh, okay, this makes more sense.
I really liked. I didn't like it, but I like because I don't know. I didn't want it to go down like that, but it did, and it was sad.
Yeah,
but I really like how like how Tom Holland
subvert.
Like reacted.
They baked it out. Yeah, they almost baked it out because I almost was like, oh, cool, it worked out.
Yeah. It's
Sorry,
good.
I guess I expected it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because, like, a lot of people were thinking like Spider-Man is his Uncle Ben, but in my mind, I'm like, he hasn't lost a family. He hasn't lost. Yeah, sorry, Tony Stark. He hasn't lost like a close person.
Yeah,
so it's like it's about time. And then when they
also red flag her.
Yeah, they were red flagging her because it's like, oh, the relationship's over. Blah, blah, blah. But
it's the cut ties.
Just when they show off Green Goblin, like when he was there, I was like, it's this guy. Because that was in some other Spider-Man piece of fiction, doesn't Green Goblin kill his aunt?
He's done. There's a lot of lines. There's a lot of lines that it's that, or he kills Mary Jane. Green Goblin always ends up killing, or like doing something like killing someone, or like really messing with Spider-Man's life at that
point. In one of the movies, he doesn't kill Aunt May, but he puts her in the hospital.
Which was
the first one.
Was the first one? Okay.
Yeah, that was the first one.
And like I'm gonna backtrack a bit because the reveal of like so when they first reveal Green Goblin, it's like very smoky. You don't see him. You basically see his goblin grenades.
Yeah.
And then the next time you see him, he's playing Osborn, and he's at Feast, and he's like, okay, you know,
he's just in his.
Yeah. Maybe this will be like Doc Ock, where they're cool.
Yeah,
like they're cool, but like we were talking about earlier, the Spidey sense scene when they're in the safe house and they show off. It's now Green Goblin. Like William Dafoe's acting is I think people know at this point, like his acting is incredible. But just like Alfred Molina, it's like he never forgot how to play Goblin because his facial, literally like he can just pull off the Goblin smile. I'm like, here we
the switch happened. Like the switch legit happened.
Yeah,
and it was so.
And he just played it like. I remember people talking how he was basically wasted in the first Spider-Man for Tobey Maguire because he's always wearing the stupid mask.
Yes, yeah.
Like,
but here
his facial expressions are just insane. And that scene, like, because there's a big fight that happens out because Tom Holland is Spider-Man. He figures out that Green Goblin is the reason his spider sense is going off. All of the villain, it's basically the Sinister Five. Sinister Five freak out. And Green Goblin just wants to fight. And that fight scene was pretty ridiculous. Especially there's a scene where Peter starts just punching Green Goblin in the face. And Green Goblin's just laughing at him. And it's just like, oh. Because people forget the serum made him like pretty strong.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, Spider-Man's strong. Oh, Green Goblin is just as strong. And he's just crazy demented goblin smile and he's laughing.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people forget, like, the best, like, I guess comparison is like he's like the Joker to Bat. He's like
Yeah.
the Joker to
Basically.
Batman. Like, so that's like the because Green Goblin was usually like Peter's like biggest enemy, but he's the one that actually messes with his life the most. So that's why like, people forget like he can actually go toe to toe, and he has like the serum and all this stuff. But on top of that, I appreciate that they didn't have the mask on, and I don't know if you guys like noticed. I didn't expect this, but like when he was in his hobo outfit, he just had his
OG.
jacket on. Like, he had the purple like sweater
It's
and
the
everything,
OG,
but I
'cause
didn't think about it.
He had the goggles. When they first introduced him, you can see. I think they show like he's got goggles on, so they did the OG comic book Green Goblin outfit, which
Because it even has like the
another
tattered, like the
A+.
top is tattered, and but then he puts on the hood on top of so it's legit the OG look. And I was just like, I didn't even think it didn't fathom to me. I'm like, oh wait, that would transform into that because it was purple. I was like, oh my god, that's it's so dope.
But
that was really
going back to what we were talking about before, they showed the Goblin glider, and then it goes in and it hits May. I was like, all right,
she's dead.
Good night. See you later. And
I was worried
they try and fake you out because
Yeah.
she's like, she gets up, she's like, oh, I just need to breathe, and I was like, she's not dead enough, bro.
She's dead.
Yeah.
Big oof.
Big oof.
There's something I was curious about because it looked weird to me, but I don't know if it's just my fucked up eyes or if something weird was actually there. I think the part that I noticed it was either when they first show him, Tobey Maguire, or when all three of them are up on the like school roof and Tobey Maguire is talking to him. One of those parts looked really weird to me. It like Tobey himself like looked really weird. And I don't know if it was like the green screen or what. Did you guys notice that at all, or feel that?
Really,
no,
I guess no.
Okay.
Nothing stuck out to me. Yeah, nothing stuck out to me. Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
I don't know. There was something with his face where I was like, something looks weird here.
His suit,
maybe not,
definitely makes his head look a little weird, like without the mask, because his suit is the most like bodysuity.
He wasn't even wearing it at that point, though.
Oh,
I'm talking about when he was in his street
because
clothes.
when they're on the top, he was just in his street clothes or in his pass-through clothes. That's what.
This is his.
Wait, are we talking? Which one are we talking about? Tobey or
it's
Andrew?
Tobey Maguire.
Tobey.
Oh.
Yeah, I
didn't notice anything. Still, regular.
Also, another thing. When they're like, is there any when they ask Mary Jane and Ned if they're like, is there any place he would go to like, just be by himself or whatever? And they're like, oh, I was the Eiffel Tower, I was the Empire State Building, and fucking Tom Holland's is the fucking school building.
School.
You're like, all right.
Pretty lame.
Gets the short end of the stick.
Nerd.
But I guess it's more like that's like for him. That's where his friend.
It makes sense because
he's still a kid.
He's young.
Yeah, he's like the youngest one, quote unquote.
A child.
So.
He's like just now graduating high school.
All right. We're gonna lead up to that though. I like the. Oh, sorry. Were you gonna say something?
No, go ahead. I'm thinking ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say like so. This is when the hype started happening. This is when everyone. This is where all the leaks. This is where all the the speculation was gonna happen. Like, okay, my big thing was I knew the Spider-Man were gonna come in. I just didn't know how it was gonna happen. Even though again I thought it was funny how like Ned somehow it's funny. Does it make sense? No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah,
100% no. But I'll take. I mean, it was a throwaway line at the beginning. It was like, I think my family has a bit of magic, and he's like, no, not possible. So it was just funny how he had the ring, and I was okay. I was wondering how they were gonna do it. I still think that was like the most hype thing ever when he just opens up and they call out Peter. Like, duh, it's Peter, and he's like, alleyways. Oh, what? Then all of a sudden, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man comes in. I was like, oh.
Like
they did it like really quick too. Like there wasn't a lot of build up there. It was just like, oh, that's a Spider-Man, but that's kind of weird. He looks different. And then he just rips his head off, and you're like, oh my god.
It was
shocking.
He rips his head off. It was such because like when Ned starts doing the portal thing, people were like, oh, that's cool, and they were like cheering. And you look into the alleyway. As soon as he turned around, I was like, it's it's Garfield because his big ass eyes on his mask. I was
Yeah.
like, no one else has a mask like that. I know
Yep.
exactly who that is.
Yeah. Then
Like,
he pops up.
I wanted to start freaking out, but I was like, I'm gonna be a polite moviegoer. I'm gonna be polite, but I was just like inside. I was like, that's my guy right there.
Yes. Let's go. Oh
And
man.
then he just runs through. You're like, okay. Takes off the mask. Like, okay,
You're not
we're
Peter. Oh my
here.
god. And this is when I was like, I forget how much I like Garfield's banter as Spider-Man.
Mhm.
Yes, he was wasted in the Amazing Spider-Man series.
Yes, because again, I think I personally believe that his portrayal of Spider-Man is probably better than most. Like
He has the like
I like him a lot too.
comedic
Yeah.
swagger that the
When he,
others
like-
just do not
yeah.
have.
like Tom
Like-
Holland
like-
almost is there, but not.
Yeah,
If-
like
yeah.
banter wise, I think Garfield is the best. And
Yeah.
I wanted to talk like the amount of banter in this movie just felt really good.
Yes.
Mm.
Like
It wasn't
speaking as, like,
overdone
this is
either.
a Spider-Man movie. There should be a little bit of
Yeah.
bant between the
Yeah.
boys, and
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
just thought it was funny, like the little things where he was like, "Oh, prove that you're Spider-Man," and he just jumps up. He's like holds the ceiling. He's like, "No, I
like,
need to see."
"What?"
Start crawling. He's like, "No, this is enough.
Crawl.
This is enough."
And
But then,
they
like,
do,
they do Toby's
then
entrance.
they do Toby, and it's weird because he's in his youth pastor clothes. You're just like, what are you doing?
So this is, I don't know if this is official, but this is what people think. At least this is what I read after, like, because I scoured. Like at this point, I'm like, all right, I'm reading everything possible.
Yeah,
But everyone at this point was like, okay, if you notice how they're entering, it kind of matches with what the general consensus of what people liked about each Spider-Man was that people loved Garfield Spider-Man and his entrance was in his Spider-Man outfit. But then when when Toby enters, everyone likes his Peter Parker outfit a lot
Mhm.
more. Or outfit, but like how he portrays Peter Parker, people like that more than his Spider-Man
Mhm.
typically. So that's why, like, I think that's like a little. I say this
That's some
because this movie
tinfoil.
became very meta afterwards too.
Yeah, a little bit.
With like a lot of things that they talked about.
Yeah.
So I think if that's not the case, then sure. But if anything, that's a really nice detail. If anything, I thought that was funny. But I also like how they're like, "Why didn't you just tell us your identity?" Is like that kind of defeats the purpose.
yeah. I
Of a
just
secret
like,
identity.
I just really liked the three Spider-Man's interaction. It felt like a natural callback to Into the Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you have like Tom Holland is supposed to be Miles, who's like the new kid. He's the new Spider-Man, still figuring things out.
Yeah.
And you kind of have a blend of both, like Peter B. Johnson and Peter Parker in both the other two.
Right.
Mhm.
But it just felt it's weird where you don't really. This is what Spider-Man's. Technically, it's his sixth appearance. Tom Holland Spider-Man, because he's had Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame,
Game. Then his
and
two
then
movies. Yeah. Yep.
But like, it's the first time where like you've got to like sit down with him with like a mentor character, because you've had
Mhm.
Tony Stark, but Tony Stark's usually just like yelling at him.
Yeah.
It felt very good. There's
Yeah.
something about Tom Holland Spider-Man getting to like have a mentor, and it felt very good, for lack of a better term.
Because Tony was really like Tony was very like a distant father kind of thing, where he was there when he needed him, but he didn't have like that emotional support.
Yeah.
And then having like I think I agree. Like the interaction between all three of them was like a highlight of the movie, because
Yeah.
they had that
It's,
like
like,
inner
heartwarming.
like
It was hard. It was
personal-
like a feel good because it
Yeah.
was like one of
Yeah.
those. I think not just like I think Garfield's Spider-Man said it the best. He was like, "Oh, I've always wanted brothers." It was like as if like
yeah,
Toby's
exactly.
was like the oldest brother, like meant like teaching them
Yeah.
all like. It was just funny how they were talking about stuff. Like they're like, "Oh, like they see Toby's web in the lab
It's
the
like,
first time." They're
yeah,
like,
like,
"Whoa!" Like
where's your web slinger? He's like, oh, I don't have
Like,
any, and they're like,
what?
what?
It just comes out of
But it's like so perfect because everyone's like, "Oh, that was like a weird choice." I'm like, but now it's just, oh, multiverse. Like this one has it in his
Yeah.
body, and then
Mhm.
the other ones don't. It's just, it was just so good. I was like, damn.
Funniest line from that was, "Can you shoot it out of anywhere else?" or something like that. I was like, "Thanks for
Say-
asking the questions
saying
that
what
we
we're
needed
all
to."
They asked,
thinking.
they answered. I love like the little meme stuff too. Like when he was like adjusting his back, he was like, "Oh, I got like
Oh,
back
yeah.
issues,"
Yeah, my
because it
back.
was like
Back in
like one,
Spider-Man 2.
yeah, back in Spider-Man 2, like that's when it actually happened. He's like, "Oh, I just got this back thing." It's like, "Oh, let me help you." I'm like, "Dang, this is so cool." Ah,
That's funny. That's
Lots,
amazing.
lots of nostalgia.
yeah.
Mhm.
But that last fight though,
fan
like
service, but
I liked how they
No.
handled the fight too. Like, well, when it came to what was it, Lizard, and it was cool because they all know how to deal with these villains too. So it was just like, oh,
Right.
let's work this out because it makes sense. It's like, yeah, I know how to deal with this. But like, I loved how like they had to like learn how to like fight together
yeah.
like throughout the whole thing. I was like, yeah, this is dope. But it was like it was funny to see them mess up too. It was like, oh, ran into one of their webs because they were already swinging
Yeah.
around and just no coordination whatsoever. It was just
Like,
great.
probably one of the biggest highlights for me in the movie was when they all decide like, oh, the villains are here, let's go. They all jump off the Statue of Liberty, but they all start swinging in their like
And they're
signature style. And it's
yes.
like, wow,
Mm.
I'm a child and I love this. And it's like, especially because I think Garfield has the best swinging sequences of all three. And just the way he moves, I'm just like, damn, I wish I could do that.
I half agree with only so I agree that his movements while he's swinging is the dopest thing. I think like the move like Raimi's movie probably captures it a bit better, but I liked it's like one of those I wish I could
Yeah,
pick
like,
and choose, right? You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I
like
wish I could
I think Rammy's and Tobey Maguire's, they have the most like classic, just like swing building the building.
but
But
like
Garfield captures it's basically like PS4 Spider-Man.
yeah, I was gonna mention
Like
that.
he
It's
has the
like
acrobatics to like
yeah,
swing around and do just like cool flippy shit.
and have and feel like Spider
Yeah.
You really feel it.
Oh man. I'm just gonna hit like the highlights that I thought hit really hard.
Mhm.
Because the fights were cool and everything. Oh, really quick, Sandman. I didn't realize, but they I think they reused his lines because he actually couldn't be on like they couldn't get his actor to come back technically.
Oh,
Oh.
So
really?
that's why he was in.
I
Or if you, I
didn't
need
know that.
because I need to look into it again. But someone superimposed like, okay, this is the scene from here. It is almost as if they green screened his old scene on top when he changes back. And then like
Whoa.
most time he's always in his Sandman form, but never like or maybe like the voice lines were there, but like for instance, like I think the thing that they pulled was like what his transformation back. I think that's like the issue was like they couldn't get his actor in on time to do something like that. There was something about that which I was like, oh, that's interesting. But that makes sense why they always just had him like in his sand form most of the time.
Yeah.
Partially or something like that. But well, actually, was he in his human form in the hideout? I don't remember
Who?
now.
He
The
he
Sandman.
only he was only ever in his human. We only saw his like human, like we saw
Human,
him
yeah.
in the shape of a human, but we only ever
Yeah,
saw like the
he's
actual human when they
never
cured him in
At the
the
end. Okay.
yeah.
at the end. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So that's probably what it was. I think this is the one part where I got like super emotional. I was like, damn, this hits. Like it was funny. I was like, I thought I got emotional for like because I was like, oh damn, this feels bad with Aunt May. But when Andrew Garfield like
Yeah.
they picked this out in the trailer, which I knew I was like, I don't trust trailers anymore for MCU. But like because they showed Peter Parker or showed
Too many
Tom Holland,
Spider-Man.
too many of them.
There's
He's
too
like
many
about to
Spider-Man.
reach for MJ, but then he gets knocked away by Goblin, and then Andrew Garfield Spider-Man gets his redemption. I was like, damn, I got chills. I was like, damn, I'm about to cry.
Yeah, it's like
This
that's probably
hits.
the biggest moment of closure I think for any of the Spider-Men is like
Getting a
he
second
basically
chance.
gets to fix or he like
He gets a second chance to
yeah,
like,
he gets to do his thing, his
yeah,
biggest failure. It's like,
yeah.
damn, that's
I
pretty
was
good.
like, man. But I think it started hitting when he started crying too. And I was like,
Yeah.
was like,
She was
"That's
like, "Are you okay?"
They
You did it.
misused Andrew Garfield. He was such a good Spider-Man.
he was so good." Like the whole there's we can go on a whole tangent on that on another thing, but like that series was done differently. The nicest way I could say it. What else? And then they brought the random part was they just brought Strange back because then it's okay. Now you need to do.
Yeah,
you
he
need
pops
to
up.
do
He's like,
things.
"Oh, time to do your
Time
thing."
to fix everything.
Which people were trying to figure out who those like multiversal characters
Yeah.
were, because
Yeah.
apparently you could maybe see
Some of them
I
had-
didn't-
There were some outlines. Yeah.
There were some big outlines. I saw it. I don't know how accurate it is because again, couldn't see it that well.
Mhm.
But some have said like, oh, there was the actual rhino and not like the mechanical one from again. Amazing Spider-Man had like they touched on things. They could have done it,
Yeah.
but like this one was like actually like in his rhino suit. Some said they saw Scorpion. They saw the Craven was one. So, but again, I don't know how accurate or how true that is but for sure they had a focus. And I'm like, damn, that's one of those things that the
Yeah.
hardcore fans will like go back and like dissect.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was cool. And then I thought it was really cool that Toby, his moment, you know, like how Andrew has his moment, Toby at his moment where he stops Tom from killing Goblin.
Yeah.
Because in the
Yeah.
movie, he wanted to kill Goblin too. Like he really did. So I thought that was a really nice, like, he's technically grown up and he's gone past like how he felt and he's able to
Mhm.
step forward and be like, no, I want you to stop from doing something that I could have done too. So,
Mhm.
but then like when he got stabbed, I was like, oh no, not this too.
That was
Yeah, I was really afraid.
because
Yeah.
it's like they
It was kind of expected to me.
100%. I'll be like, they're not gonna kill him. They've already killed like a major character for Tom, so it's like, why would they kill?
Yeah. Why would they kill
another?
another one just for?
Yeah. So like, I was just like, this is just for drama.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
was. But because
But-
I couldn't remember, I could be wrong, but I thought he got stabbed before in one of his movies. So I thought that's when he was like, I've been stabbed before. And then Andrew Garfield's like, oh, okay, cool. He's like, thank God you've been
Yeah.
stabbed before. Which I'm like, yeah, sure. But yeah, I guess everyone got fixed. And then now they're like, oh, let's actually go back and like erase everyone's memories.
It was all a prequel. It was a 3-movie origin story for
It was
Spider-Man.
because now, in my opinion, this is where they actually fixed. I personally think they just fixed MCU Spider-Man at this point. Like they're not now.
Yeah,
he's actually where
back
he's
to,
supposed
like,
to be.
Classic Spider-Man, no Stark tech to
Mhm.
like act as a crutch.
Yeah, he's actually. I mean, it sucked when like people forgot about him, but I think that's also nice because now it's like, oh, he is just Spider-Man. I think now my gripe with the whole he can now actually have that relationship with New York. He can now he's actually living on his own, learning how to like, be like the poor man's superhero essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like actually make his own stuff, but still like just be Spider-Man. Because okay, I want your opinion, both of you. I don't know if their whole point was they wanted to go to MIT. Do you think he's actually going to go there? Considering how things ended, because it's weird because people forget who he is, but that technically doesn't mean it rewrites what's happened. It's probably like twisted how
So
things turned out. It's weird.
the theories I've read, this is my own
Yeah.
opinion. I'm just gonna say
Yeah.
the theories I've read first, of that he's gonna stay in New York and he's gonna go to
Mhm.
NYU, and that's where he meets Gwen
of that.
and Felicity and the other guy.
Felicia, I think.
The other
Felicity?
guy. I don't remember.
Oh,
Felicity.
not Flash, but the Eddie Brock.
Yeah, Eddie.
Yeah.
And so that's
Mm.
like that's where
Yeah, I think
that plot starts going.
Ooh,
Because
I didn't even think about Eddie. I thought about Gwen. I didn't think about Eddie.
yeah, like MJ goes to MIT. And I mean, it's weird because especially it's the end of a trilogy. And
Yeah.
that's always when people start speculating, like, oh, are the actors done? Do they want out? Because I've seen articles of people saying Tom Holland wants a break or he wants to leave.
It's all it's
And
super
then I've
hard
heard
to
like, oh no,
follow.
he has like a 3-movie contract extension. It's like, well, I don't know.
But then some people was like, oh, is it him or is it Spider-Man that's getting 3 more movies? It's this weird
Yeah.
gray
So,
area now. Because if it's
so
Spider-Man movies, someone's like, oh, what if they
the
bring back
4th Spider-Man.
yeah, or they
Jeez.
just bring back like, or this is when they introduce. Now they can technically introduce like the live action Miles. It's one of those we don't know where we're going at
Yeah,
this
so
point.
it's another like, well, now what? Because then people are also speculating that Ned's gonna become a villain.
I mean, because they joked about it, but come on. Well, his character's apparently supposed to die, so that's not like in the comics he dies, and like, but that has effects, but for other reasons.
Yeah.
But also Ned
But-
is supposed to be friends with Miles, so that's why this is all sorts of weird.
Yeah.
So
Like for me, just like it would not make any sense at all for Spider-Man to then like, oh, I guess I'm going to MIT to follow these 2 people.
but he takes
That-
the apartment, but he signs up for a lease in New York. That's why I was like,
Yeah.
that's where
Yeah, like-
that's when
Like
that's
he
my argument for
clearly
that.
is staying in New York, which
Yeah.
that whole sequence was like pure callback and fan service to Spider-Man 1 because it's like
Rent.
trashy apartment, guy screaming about rent, and then he pulls out, he's got the police scanner, and then
Yep.
they got the classic suit.
Yeah, because people are like pointing out like the apartment kind of looks like the movie or the
Yeah,
first movie,
it looks
or
like-
even like the PS4 version, but it's like it's got that vibe.
Yeah.
It's rundown. Man.
So one thing, I've seen this debate, and I want to hear you guys. Or Ian, what did you
Thoughts?
think about Harrison's question? Before I
What
go
was
to
the
my
question?
Essentially, do you guys?
Do we think he's gonna? So, I guess it didn't seem really clear to me. I couldn't tell if it was one of those. So when he's having that like moment with MJ at the diner, I couldn't tell if it was a, you know what, I'm gonna say goodbye to them this way, like because he saw the
scar.
he saw the Band-Aid on her forehead, and I could see him being like, "This is really dangerous. I put her through a lot. I'll just like." I'll bow out here, you know. I'll do the superhero noble thing to like step away or whatever. Or I couldn't tell if it was that or if it was a like, you know what? I don't want to like force this like by like just sounding like a crazy person and spewing off this whole letter that I wrote. I want it to be like more organic and natural. So I just want to like reacquaint myself with them naturally. I couldn't tell what
That's
it
really
was.
funny how you mentioned that because my fiance, when she also watched it opening night, but like, she came back with I think they want to make it organic, so she's in that camp. So she's in that camp. That's the way she interpreted it. For me, for that scene, it was more of like the moment he saw that when he asked, "Oh, how is that?" She's like, "You know what? It feels a lot better. Like it's healing." And I'm like, I think that's when he flips, where he's like, "All right, this is probably for the best then," because I think that's when I think he's stepping away personally.
Here's what I think. I bet that they planned this. I bet that they walked this line so finely that they made it ambiguous, and that's
super ambiguous.
Do that. That's
yeah.
Do I think
I'm just curious because this is kind of like the ending,
go to MIT though.
Right.
That was the question, right? Like
kind of. It was kind of. So the question was more of that, but then it kind of leads into like, how do you think they're going to proceed? Because
yeah,
that was my next question. But Luc pushed it. Luc went above and beyond. He understood the assignment. So, I just see this all online, so I'm just curious. Like, what do you?
Yeah, I honestly.
Unless it's that ambiguous, because you're not wrong. I feel like they like threaded it because we also don't know the future of this.
Yeah,
the direction.
Honestly, I could see a future where he like kind of gets back some version of his older life,
Mhm.
but like it's
Yeah.
not the same. It's new, and he's moving forward, right?
Yeah.
Um, or I could see like a direction where he kind of like they branch off. He like meets Gwen and Brock, and then it kind of converges. So it's like a branch off, and then he
But
kind
then
of
like wraps back.
reacquaints with his old life and merges into like this whole new thing. I'd see it going like that.
Yeah. We'll see.
So I
Who
was gonna
knows?
ask, because this is what I've been seeing this discussion is like, what should have, or what should Peter have done in that instance?
Oh,
Like, should he have, because he made the promise, and all of his friends made him promise, like, no matter what, find us and tell us, and we're gonna like bring it all back together.
mhm.
And then after that, he's like, oh, they're better off without me, I'm not gonna do that. I've seen that, like, I've seen this moral
What he
question
should have
thrown out.
done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, should he
Yeah.
should he break the promise, or should he try and like find them again? It's good that you, Harrison, had a different opinion, or you have a stance on that.
Yeah.
And I wish your fiance was here, because then we could ask her. But
Yeah.
I guess starting with you, I just want to hear if you have any thoughts about that. Just it's the thing
So-
I've heard.
So you're right, because I've also seen that one. That was like the leading question. Also, that was another question, but I totally forgot. So thank you. I personally think, given everything, I would have done what he did, and that like he would have left them alone and just not push for it. But here's the reason why. Because this was a line that she also said right before. She's like, because even if you don't find me, I'll figure it out. So that's why in my head I'm like, that was another gray area thing. I'm like, they could pull that too, where like even though he doesn't say anything, eventually she'll figure out that he's
Then
somehow.
she's gonna be pissed, because
Then she's gonna be super pissed.
we swore you would find, and then
Well-
you didn't. Now I'm angry.
I guess my thing was more like she probably won't remember anything. She'll just figure out that he's Spider-Man. That's it.
Yeah,
But it won't be
not
all
if
of a
she's
sudden
going
like,
to MIT.
but it's more like, oh, she won't remember that she
Yeah,
knew.
yeah.
You know, like, so how could she be
Right.
upset? If anything, it would just be like
She
one of
still
those,
won't
oh yeah,
remember Peter. She'll
Yeah.
just
she'll just figure out that he's. If she does it, I fully believe that she could probably do it again. If she doesn't, she's done it once. This is So
Yeah.
that's why I would personally, for me, I'm like, all right, well, I want them. I would have just done what he did in the movie, honestly. Even though it would suck so much, for real,
hmm
because it's like your closest friends at that point.
yeah.
Ian or Luke, I don't know.
Ian,
Me?
defer.
I don't. My stance is I don't think it's not fair to make a choice for someone else. They have to make the choice. So I see it as if he
Oh.
doesn't at least try to tell them in some way, you know, because you don't want to sound like a crazy person being like, "Here, we did all these things. I know you from the past." It's
It's
happened.
the guy with the
Yeah.
with the board in
Yeah.
the back. It's like, look,
It's the Charlie Day from
Charlie Day. There we go. Yeah.
Sunny, Always Sunny, where he's like, "Who is Pepe Sylvia?"
Yeah,
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah. So in some way, I think you have to at least try to tell them, because making the decision for them isn't fair to them, in my head. Like, if I was MJ, I would be so pissed. I would be like, "What the fuck? That wasn't your call to make." I knew the like risks of like being around
Okay.
you.
Sorry, I misunderstood you. So you mean like you would tell them and just let them, like, if they thought you were crazy, you're crazy. But if not,
No, so I wouldn't like write a paper and go tell them like that, but I would try to do it in a way.
like you said,
I-
organically.
Yeah, probably organically.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that's what they were trying to tell us that he's doing in the movie, yes, I would have done it like he did in the movie. If that's the, you know what I mean? Yeah. Luke.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he definitely should have made an effort to talk to them and tell them what happened. But at the same time, yeah, like yeah, I think he should have. Kind of like what Ian said, like you don't get to make those choices for other people.
Right.
And so yeah, like MJ always gets hurt when she's with Spider-Man, but like that's her choice.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes it's not her choice, but like it's her choice to stay.
To stay.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, I think I mean, maybe I would have, if I was Peter, I would write the letter and just send them a letter. But yeah, he should have made the effort to somehow explain the situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now he just gets to be Spider-Man all the time, and so like he probably doesn't have time anymore.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But
And
I truly believe he was about to make, like, I think he was he was probably like 90% there. Like legit.
Yeah.
To me, like again, in my head, I think that the scar or like the wound, like the bandage and everything is the flip. Like I really think that he was literally about
coward.
Oh yeah,
He's a coward.
Absolutely.
Wrong decision. That's the bad end.
That's the bad end. This is why the multiverse is about to go crazy.
True facts.
Peter chose wrong.
So then Mordo freaks out.
Mordo freaks. Man.
I don't know that. Like, yeah, I don't know. This is one of those scenarios where it's like
it's hard.
So complex.
This will never happen, so we don't know.
That too.
Yeah.
Because also on the other hand, it's like, well, if you don't have any friends, you get more time to be Spider-Man, which is more time saving people. And is that morally correct? I don't know.
Which is the core issue of Spider-Man. Legitimately is balancing two lives,
two evils.
Yeah, it is that. Like that is actually like, and I like that this movie tackles that a little bit. Not like it was like the first half of the movie how he deals with it, and now here's the outcome. But I like that they address like, okay, yeah, this is technically always the issue with Spider-Man is that he has to tackle and
real life.
I like they tug it though. They do it. They don't go like the like gimmicky route of like you have a relationship and then it's like, oh, you got to choose the relationship or you're Spider-Man. And instead, she's like actually really supportive.
I think they did that in one,
do it in a really different way, which is really cool.
Huh? Actually, no, I think they did that with the other two somewhat.
I think so, yeah.
Somewhat.
In a way.
Something like that.
I know they did it with the first one for sure.
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire. They did that one.
The second one was weird. It's been a while. Like,
yeah. Those, yeah.
But yeah, overall, and then
how long has it been since I've seen those? Holy shit! I think
so
Tobey Maguire ones. I've only seen them like 2 or 3 times each. The third one I only saw once because it was bad.
So,
but
I was gonna say, there was a TikTok that like this will date us because I watched it. I was like, oh wait, no, that's exactly the sequence. Was like the kid was like, I've grown up with Spider-Man legitimately because I grew up watching the TV show on four.
Right.
I forgot what it's called.
Is it 4 Kids?
4 Kids? I forgot. Something like that.
I didn't know there was a newer animated Spider-Man series.
There's so many.
That threw me for a loop.
There's so many, actually. And it's crazy. Because one of them, Drake Bell, was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That was it. And look where he's at now.
Like that.
But no, yeah, but it was cool because the guy was like, oh yeah, I grew up as a kid, I watched that. And then in like middle school, I watched Toby. College, high school, college, I watched Andrew, and now we're here. But you get to see all. I was like,
here we are.
It's like we've made it.
Yeah,
because there are times like like as a kid, I loved Spider-Man, but I never like thought of him as like one of my favorites. But I looking at it now, I was like, yeah, actually, for sure, grew up with Spider-Man. I just never thought about it that way. So
I think he is kind of just like one of the most popularized as well.
He's
like,
the people. Yeah, he's like internationally, he's considered one of the most popular
Yeah.
superheroes, just bar none. And it's like him. I don't know, Batman, maybe.
I think more Superman. Internationally, probably more.
Yeah, Like I guess just
but
overall
those,
popularity.
overall,
Spider-Man's. I mean, he was originally. I think his first media appearance was a Japanese live action.
Yeah,
from
I think
like
that's
the
what it was.
80s.
Yeah.
That's because the Japanese love Spider-Man.
Yeah. And really quick,
I was like, keep speaking.
I was gonna say,
think.
then there's that. Then we have the post-credit scene with. Venom.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Did you guys? Did you guys know how he got there? Did you guys see that? Like how?
I haven't seen Carnage yet, so
Me neither. But I saw the post-credit scene for that.
yeah,
Because that went around Twitter. I was just like,
I'm just assuming he's just like, oh, I'm in Mexico drinking, and then time to go home.
Yeah, because apparently, so the thing was like at the end of Carnage, he's just chilling at home and he's sleeping, and all of a sudden, like they were talking about, like, he talks about like the hive mind, the Venom hive mind, and then all of a sudden but then he's like, wait, what's happening? And he gets teleported to like a place in Mexico, and then that's what and then he sees on the news he saw the beginning or the end of Home,
No Way Home,
Far From Home. He saw Spider-Man's identity get revealed, and he's like, "Wait, who's that?" So then, like that's when people freaked out for that. So that's why anyone that saw Venom, they're like, if you see it, just watch the end credit scene. So then this again, spoilers. I mean, we've been talking spoilers the entire time, but yeah. So then that's how he got into Mexico, and that's why he was asking. And then he got sent back. But I like how they alluded to like a part of the symbiote got left.
Yeah, it was like 90% comedy, and then the very last part is like, but wait, there's a symbiote now.
Hello. Yeah. I dropped something. Oops.
Oops. Creates another.
Apparently, so this is the other speculation, was that Venom was supposed to be the Sinister, like the sixth Venom. Because like I don't remember if I heard this right, but someone was saying like it was the Sinister 5 because the sixth person was supposed to be Venom, but he didn't get transported correctly. Then there's a whole like ooga booga, like thinking of like why, and they're like saying like, oh, because no one liked the Spider-Man 3 version, so then they got this one, but it's not the right one, so that's why he didn't get ported correct. It's all weird shit. Because everyone likes this Venom more. I mean, well, I say everyone, but he's not as disliked.
The Spider-Man 3 Venom was not even.
That wasn't Venom. That was just a dude in a suit.
Oh, oops.
Yeah.
In his suit. He was just covered in the Nickelodeon glue.
Or
but black.
Yeah. You didn't get like the symbiote talking. It was just Eddie Brock.
Yeah. But I thought that was funny, but I thought it was cool. I was like, damn. Now
it's interesting because I remember after Endgame, people were wondering who's going to be the new big three, because you had Thor, Captain, and Iron Man. And so people were like, oh, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, we're going to be the new big three. And now it's kind of like thrown into contention, because if Spider-Man ends up being just the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man,
then it's not at that level. Yeah, it's not at that level anymore. Yeah. Which I'm glad. I will say I'm glad he's back to the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I think that's a nice change. We kind of, it's a lot. Like this movie was
there's a lot to unpack, and there's a lot to unpack because it's riding on 5 other movies.
Yeah, it was so funny. Like quick funny story was like everyone knew I saw it opening night, but there's some people that I knew from like other friends that like were watching it yesterday or the day before and all that.
Yeah,
one of them was like, "What are my expectations?" And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, how traumatizing is this movie? She gets stressed about a lot of things, like movie-wise or show-wise. She's like, oh, that's too stressful. I'm going to take a break. So she's like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much? Me thinking, oh, this is a hype movie. You're not going to be traumatized at all. There's nothing crazy in this. It's a 4 out of 10 probably for like that shock factor. But then she's like, and then she was like, okay, cool. And she comes back and she's like, we need to figure out what your definition of
We
traumatizing
need to
is.
Put down
set
barriers.
And I was
parameters.
like, what do you mean? She's like, okay, let me explain. Because what you said was a 4 out of 5. So his aunt dying in his arms, Doctor Strange wiping away everyone's memories of him, and now he lives alone, and literally no one knows him. I was like, but there were 2 other Spider-Men.
But
The only traumatizing thing I think would be Aunt May dying. The other parts
Yeah.
are just like
Yeah,
whatever.
no, it's just
This
funny. I was just like,
happens.
oh,
Yeah,
because for
that's-
me that was like the highlight. Obviously, this is the biggest highlight of this movie. It's just
Mhm.
how much like fucking cameo shit they put in this movie. It's just
Yeah,
beautiful.
boy.
Yeah.
Final thoughts on anything else? Anything you guys want to add? Because that's all I got.
all I got to. Everyone's a good actor. That movie was good.
The acting is superb. It doesn't feel crowded with so many characters.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I wish that was the Eternals.
Nope.
Well, again,
Eternals
Eternals
is-
they pulled up a Marvel movie pulled a DC in that they tried to rush something. They tried to speed run it up to a point.
Yeah. It just made me sad.
Yeah, that's another topic for another. I know you wanted to talk about it, and we just haven't had the chance. Well, wait, because Ian, have you seen it? I forgot.
Yeah.
You saw it a
That's-
little while ago.
That's
Yeah.
fine. We just haven't. Yeah.
Yeah, which we don't need to talk about it. It
No.
just wasn't
It just
It
it
wasn't
could have
that
been.
great.
It had
For me-
potential.
for
Had
me. It
potential.
was good, but it was bad. So
Yeah. I get you.
whatever. No Way Home was very good.
Fantastic.
It's weird having to now wait basically 5 months for the next Marvel movie. I'm used to them just like shotgunning them out, but
Mm.
You know why though? It's because now they have the TV or the show platform or Disney Plus
Yeah.
platform to do shows, so
Right.
they can kind of.
have you
What-
watched Hawkeye, Harrison?
Yep.
I'm assuming you haven't, Ian, because I haven't.
No.
Watched. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I guess, but Hawkeye ended, right?
Yep, it just ended.
Yeah.
like,
So
this
now
week.
it's just there's nothing until
that was technically the last.
yeah, like the
What is
Or
the next?
no, Spider-Man
the
was
next
last thing.
movie?
it's Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor
Okay.
Strange,
Right.
yeah,
Because they
which
did
is,
the
I'm
trailers like the
pretty
second.
sure that's in
scene.
May.
yeah.
Okay.
Need to check, but yes, I believe so.
Yeah, it's like there's a bit of a wait, so that'll be interesting.
Mm.
And even then, I'm pretty sure they're also throwing in Scarlet Witch, so it's
That
not
okay? Did you
just
guys
Doctor
expect
Strange
that
movie.
trailer at the end?
I didn't expect the trailer, but
I didn't
Yeah.
expect the trailer at all. I was just like expecting like a quick
it,
peek.
it
And
felt
also,
kind of lame
Yeah.
because I don't want to see a trailer. I want to see more like post credits world building, not just like
yeah, it was
here's-
weird. It was like
here's some marketing.
yeah, it was the weirdest thing. Like, I mean, I was like, I'm kind of a bit more hyped, but it was one of those. I would have been just equally as like interested if I watched it outside the movie. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it should have been like something that
I-
they've been doing, a quick snippet of something.
It's also
Yeah.
because
I guess maybe they just don't have anything.
yeah, like
Like they don't have anything else for Spider-Man.
yeah.
So maybe that's why they just like.
That's
all
why
right,
they didn't do like,
fuck the
oh,
trailer.
you'll see Spider-Man again, blah blah blah.
I mean, if they had, yeah, they didn't even do that.
I mean, because
Which
I don't
makes
think
me
they could.
wonder.
You don't know. We're in
Are
that
we
point of
gonna see
again,
again?
we don't know.
But I'm
Yeah.
just gonna say, like, Doctor Strange, the movie Doctor Strange came out in 2016, and so now he's getting his sequel. It's like that's a long time, and yeah, COVID.
But I mean,
still,
also,
like,
I mean, personally, to me, I wasn't like, I thought it was a good movie, but it wasn't like one of those like I need a sequel.
it was just
so I
a
think
tie-in
this
for like because they had Mordo at the very end. Was like, oh, I disapprove of these actions. So I was like, okay, well, they're gonna do something with Mordo now.
But I thought they revealed the possible villain, which I was like, oh, that's really cool. A cool concept because you guys, I don't know if you guys watched What If at all,
What
but
if?
there's like
Yeah.
one episode where I'm like, okay, this is the best, and like
I know what
alludes-
you're
yeah,
talking about. That's the
That's
other
the
thing
whole
too. Like, I'm mad they showed a trailer at the end because I don't want to watch MCU trailers anymore. They spoil way too much.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's why
like
one
that-
of my friends just, like puts he will not watch any MCU trailers.
yeah, like after this, I'm
'Cause
not
you don't
watching
know-
any more
Because even though
trailers.
like some people are like, oh, they can fake it out. I'm like, you don't
it
know
doesn't
that.
matter. You don't know what they're faking, so
Yeah,
you might
yeah.
as well just go completely blind because
Yeah.
yeah, like I knew they were gonna have the 3 Spider-Man, which
Yeah.
was still super awesome, but I was like, oh, I was expecting it at some point for them to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even like watch a trailer for that though. That was just the product of the internet.
Yeah.
But
And I guess they
Alright.
did like secret marketing where like people would say stuff in an interview and it'd be like,
it
"Oh,
was
that
for
means something."
Yeah, you would even know like people would always like Andrew Garfield just suddenly popping up all the time. So like, all right, something's up.
Yeah.
well, no, because he was promoting his new movie. That's why. And then every time someone would,
But
it
like
was like the cool thing from
even
Netflix.
because they're asking, I'm like,
Yeah.
Something's up.
Well, I
'Cause,
think
like
they're
if
asking.
I didn't know
Spider-
anything about
Yeah.
Spider-Man, and then they start talking to Andrew Garfield, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I would be sniffing for something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Getcha. Yeah.
Big stretch.
Regardless, big stretch. On that note, I also want a big stretch.
I want a big food.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Big food.
On that note, if you've got nothing else, thanks for listening. You can tweet us any topic suggestion at SuperBoss Pod, that Twitter handle, cough cough. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Please let us know how we're doing. Kind of do everything sporadic at this point, but it's okay.
Yeah,
We talk
I guess
about what
like after this, we won't have
Oh.
probably another movie topic for a while. So
yeah, and it's a, yeah, that's true.
we'll see. We'll see what January brings us, because January might be a quiet month for
It
us.
is also the end of the year, so everyone
Yeah.
have a happy holiday, New Year,
Yeah, Happy New Year, Happy Holiday.
all that.
Get some good New Year's resolutions going. All that good stuff.
Cough, cough.
All right, we'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
Bye bye.